A few years ago, when my son was in kindergarten, he had just learned how to ride his two-wheeler, and we were outside just 20 or 30 feet away from where I'm sitting, and he was riding his bike while I was on the porch watching him and talking to a neighbor, a female friend of mine. And we were just chatting about having small talk about what was going on in our lives at that time. And while we were out there, my son fell off his bike and skinned his knee. It was really no big deal, but it turned into a life-changing moment for me because as he got up from the bike, tears rolling down his face, he reached out to her instead of me. He wanted a hug from her instead of me. And I think up until that moment, I used to think, and I think a lot of single parents will understand this, I used to think if you're loyal enough, if you worked hard enough, that you could somehow provide a child with the love and affection that he would get from both parents. And I realized in that moment that I would never be the mom my son needed. That there would be certain occasions like falling off your bike when simply being a dad wasn't enough. And I bring this up because this is the week that we celebrate mothers. It's the start of Mother's Day week. And I don't know that anybody could have more respect for moms than someone who's tried to do your job and has fallen woefully short. So I want to take a moment. First off, I want to lift up my own mom, who I'm sure I've given her life more stresses than she needed. I want to lift up my son's mom, and in fact, I want to lift up all moms who are out there. But because of my own story and my own circumstances, I want to take a moment and lift up the single moms who are out there, because you got to think just for a moment of what she deals with on a daily basis, every day, day after day. Starts off with the same fear that somebody in the house is going to wake up with a cold, and it can't happen today. She can't afford to miss work today.
Wake up!
On a good day, when everything goes the way it should, she alone gets the kids up and dressed and out the door. She shows up to the office just a few minutes before 9 and takes the extra time to get the makeup on and look presentable. She will work as hard as anyone else, but it's almost impossible for her to put in extra hours, because when 5 p.m. comes, she has to race across town, fighting traffic, making sure she arrives at the after school on time. The fees, the late fees, are outrageous. At home, there's dinner to be made, homework to be done, and fights to be broken up, kids to be washed, dogs to be walked, and laundry that needs to be put away. There is always laundry. She tucks the kids in, says a quick prayer, reminds them that God is always with them, even when their earthly father is not.
Yeah, go ahead, open it.
With the few remaining hours, she'd love to pour a glass of wine and get on Facebook, but not tonight. There are still bills to be paid and maybe a phone call or two to be returned. When she does go to bed, when the day is finally over, it always ends the same way. She will lay in the dark, wondering how things turned out this way. This is not the life she wanted, not the life she dreamed of, but it is the life she has. Her day all at once is increasingly busy and lonely. Sometimes she thinks about getting remarried, but she knows how that's worked out for some of her friends. She hears them talk about the struggles of a blended family, and honestly, she doesn't know what she should be praying for. The Bible tells us that God hates divorce, but listen, everybody hates divorce, especially someone who's gone through it. And the Bible also tells us something else, something that I think in our modern times needs a little expanding on. We've been told that it is our responsibility as Christians to take care of widows and orphans. And I think if we took that scripture and applied it to 2014, we would have to include in that list of people single moms, people who've been abandoned by men. I'm going to give you a little homework assignment. I got to tell you that a few times a year, on Father's Day, on my birthday, and on Christmas, a friend will come forward, and it's never the same person. It's always somebody different. But a friend will give me a call and say, listen, I want to take Brody, my son, I want to take your son out shopping so he can get you a gift. And I got to tell you, it melts my heart, but it melts his heart too, because it puts him in a position to give back to the person who gives to him all year long. So here's your homework assignment if you choose to accept it. There is a single mom in your community, at the office perhaps, in the neighborhood, at church. You have 6 days before we celebrate Mother's Day on Sunday, 6 days to make a huge impact on that family's life. Do me a favor, call her up and ask the kids, and ask permission to take the kids shopping. It will warm her heart in ways you can't even imagine. We wish all of you, no matter what your circumstances, all of the mothers out there, a very, very happy Mother's Day. We are very much aware of how much you do for us all year long. I'm Doug Wahl. By the way, next week we're going to kind of sort of stick on this topic. And we're going to revisit one of the most controversial posts we ever made. The question next week is, should this woman right there, should that woman, that single mom, go to jail? We'll take a look at that story and give you an update on what happened since the last time we reported on it. I'm Doug Wahl in North Carolina. God bless.